All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this morning's webinar on second-generation dedupe for enterprise data protection. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm Gary Matsuda, and I'm a senior consultant and HP practice lead with Agile 360 in Southern California. Joining me today is Lou Pontonaris, senior bureau solutions specialist with HP Storage. So, as we often see in the field, organizations are faced with a broad spectrum of challenges when trying to protect their enterprise data. Each organization is unique with their own requirements for backup, compliance, retention, and SLAs. This morning, Lou will cover some of those typical challenges, then introduce you to some of the latest solutions in HP's enterprise backup, recovery, and archive portfolio. During the presentation, if you have any questions, please submit them using the chat window. In the chat window, there's a drop-down where you can select Send Question to Staff, and we'll try to cover some of those at the end. Also, if you'd like to discuss your company's specific backup challenges, your account team will be following up with you after this session. So with that, I'll hand it over to Lou Pontonaris. Go ahead, Lou.
Thank you, Gary. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, you sound great.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for allowing me to present to you today. We appreciate your time. We know you have quite busy schedules, so I think that this presentation will be very useful and informative for you to understand kind of what HP is doing in the areas of data protection, backup, and recovery, disaster recovery, as well as data deduplication. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward. As Gary had indicated, please, if there's any questions at all, feel free to ask them, and we'll respond to them appropriately. I also have on the line a couple of my HP colleagues from the technical side as well that can assist. So here's the quick agenda that we have. We're going to go over data protection challenges and what people are confronted with today, and then we'll start getting into the StoreOnce technology and how HP has productized this very unique and advanced deduplication technology. We'll talk about the federation, and then how the different models can address the different use cases that you have. And then we'll talk about something that's quite important that Gary wanted me to spend a little bit of time on, is StoreOnce in virtual type environments. We all know that virtual environments are constantly increasing with everyone's type of IT operations, so we'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about something unique to HP in which we call Catalyst, and spend a little bit of time on that. And then we'll leave a little bit of time at the end for some questions. So with that being said, here are some of the most common backup and recovery challenges that we're seeing today with the advent of a lot of things such as web-based content, with big data content, with a lot of mixed media, things of that sort, and then on top of things that folks are very rarely deleting data, it really causes a quandary for IT managers and IT operations. And the things that we see most often today when it comes to customers' data protection problems are these 5 items that you see. There's a backup challenge in terms of too little time to complete backups. As data continues to increase, we still have the same number of hours in the day, and in fact what happens is, because of 7x24 operations, many times there's very little time to back up. This compounds the problem that data is continuing to grow at 35 to 40% clips for most organizations. So just meeting the backup window, getting the data back up in the limited amount of time is a challenge. Secondly, what we're finding is with these big data sets is that customers need to restore very, very quickly. And that what has traditionally been a problem with previous technologies is just being able to restore data fast enough to meet SLAs is even becoming more and more apparent. The third thing is data is starting to make its way out into the remote edges of the enterprise, where before, for the most part, most data was kept locally, centralized. Now we're seeing very important data being pushed out to the edge, so being able to protect that data and effectively manage it has become a challenge at a reasonable cost. The last couple of things with IT operations, what you're finding is where organizations are having to do more with less staffing. So trying to simplify, make it much more efficient has become very, very high on the list for IT managers and directors. And then lastly is providing an affordable, very efficient and reliable disaster recovery methodology. And we all address all these with the StoreOnce technology. Okay. So when we look at specifically the StoreOnce data deduplication products, here is where this product truly shines above and beyond any of our competition. Extremely fast. Fastest products on the market when it comes to backing up data, deduplicating it, and storing data in the least amount of space possible. Very flexible in terms of scalability. As we all know, our data is not really shrinking. It's typically growing, so being able to accommodate not only capacity, but also performance requirements as that data continues to double, and you still need to maintain it as a backup copy. Federation, as a lot of organizations merge or as different types of technologies make themselves available, it's important to have a single type of technology that spans many different storage use cases. StoreOnce addresses that. And then risk-free, being able to provide a level of high availability if that is a requirement for customers to ensure backups are getting completed and operations don't halt in the middle of the night to affect production operations. Okay? So let's talk about StoreOnce specifically. What is it? What does it do, and what's the value it brings to the company or the organization from a business perspective, right? So what we've found is that there's been data deduplication in the marketplace for a number of years now, probably 6 to 8 years in where it's become very, very popular. The technology with backup has traditionally been tape-based backup, very, very cost-effective, lowest cost per gigabyte, but the reliability and the complexity of managing tapes has always been a thorn in the side of most IT operations. So what happens with the advent of deduplication is it made customers have the ability to back up to disk very, very efficiently and very, very fast, but also it brought costs down because what we were able to do with data deduplication is to remove the redundancy of data when it's being saved. So if you have an example, a PowerPoint presentation where 99% of the content is the same and you're keeping 20 copies of that PowerPoint presentation, you only have to save the blocks once, and then you put pointers down that allows the system to reassemble the data to the way the file looks when you need it. So it really significantly reduced the amount of space consumption. That, with the lower cost now of the cost dropping of disk, gave customers a very reliable and more efficient way to now provide backups, faster backups, and give a lot of flexibility to it. So tape in itself now, you're finding, is starting to move away from the primary target for backups into more of a tape as archive or archive of backups, and the primary target now is becoming disk because of the ability of deduplication and the value it brings. Now, there is a challenge with the first generation of deduplication, which HP identified early on. Now, these products still work, but with the advent of big data and a lot of the challenges that are now coming to a head, HP had the foresight to say, hey, you know what, we need to provide a deduplication technology that's much more robust, much more flexible, and meets the needs of customers not only today, but also spans different storage technologies in the future. So we compare HP StoreOnce deduplication as version 2.0, dedupe 2.0, compared to the previous versions from many different vendors as deduplication 1.0. And part of the characteristics of this dedupe 2.0 is federated deduplication, very, very fast ingest, very, very fast restore, and greater efficiency in managing that data. Okay? So if you're to leave this presentation with just a few things, right? Somebody said, well, you sat through that HP StoreOnce presentation. What is it about that technology? Here are the 3 things that I'd like you to at least leave with. There's nothing faster than HP StoreOnce when it comes to backup to disk with deduplication. 3 times faster than our competitors. Second, it's the most flexible solution out there. We have what's called a federated type of strategy in which the same dedupe engine that we use is used in a number of different products. So they all communicate with each other. Standardized deduplication engine that allows the different use cases in different types of sizes of appliances and software to communicate efficiently together. And very, very simple. Single pane of glass type of management, manage up to 400 different locations from a single web interface. Very easy to use, manage, and understand. Okay, so let's delve into StoreOnce itself and tell you a little bit about the technology. first of all, think of StoreOnce as this software engine, right? It's intelligent IP that HP developed in HP Labs and were able to implement in hardware solutions as well as in software solutions. So it's a modular technology. We are the leaders when it comes to the server technology out there in the marketplace. So as HP manufactures and develops more robust, more elegant, more powerful server technology, it's very easy for us to take that StoreOnce engine, implement it in the latest and greatest server technology along with the latest and greatest storage technology, and provide a very, very advanced solution. It's a modular 64-bit architecture built for the future. It's not reliant on any proprietary hardware, designed around ProLiant industry standard servers, and there are no dependencies on hardware, etc. So very, very advanced thinking when it came to the development of StoreOnce. Okay. If we look at it from a use case perspective and how this will benefit customers in their type of enterprise, you see here the different ways that StoreOnce and our products can be deployed. So in the middle, you see what HP StoreOnce is, a single node appliance. This type of solution is designed to replace or supplement tape backups. So ideally what you can do is move their tape drive or your tape library aside, put this single node purpose-built appliance in its place, direct backups to it, works with all a wide variety of ISVs in terms of backup software, and this now becomes the primary target for your backups. Very, very fast backups, multi-stream backups, and very, very fast restores. Okay, now moving to the bottom right, for those larger type of installations or larger data requirements, enterprise class scale out StoreOnce appliance. This is designed for those customers who need a lot of performance or who need high availability. Can start very small, but it allows you to scale capacity as well as performance independently. So as you can understand, as if your data doubles, triples, etc., and the backup window remains the same, how can you achieve and meet that backup window with the existing system? Well, with the StoreOnce scale-out appliance, you can add additional server nodes that provides more CPU, more memory, more ports, whether it be gigabit, 10 gigabit, or fiber channel ports, to allow the system to ingest and restore and accommodate those performance requirements. At the bottom left, you see what we call our HP StoreOnce, Data Protector software. So those customers who are looking for deduplication within the backup software itself, you can go ahead and deploy Data Protector software, which would manage all the backups, and you can use the direct attached storage on that backup server and have data deduplication occur on that backup server itself. So you could see how we're able to take that modular engine of StoreOnce, put it in hardware single node, put it in hardware multi-node type of cluster design, as well now as implementing it within software and using generic disk as the media. Okay. Moving up to the upper left, you see what we've now released is what's called our StoreOnce VSA. VSA stands for Virtual StoreOnce Appliance. Essentially, this is our version of a virtualized storage appliance. Software-defined storage. Basically, we've taken that HP StoreOnce engine, embedded it in a virtual machine, and now using anyone's hardware, whether it be server or storage, now you have the ability to basically have a virtual appliance that looks, acts, feels, and interacts just like a physical appliance. Okay, so you can see the methodology and the thinking behind HP StoreOnce, where we're able to deploy this modular engine in many different types of use cases depending upon what the customer needs. Okay, looking at the different models that are available, you see how the different class of systems can address different use cases. So for a very small type of deployment, you could install the backup software with HP Data Protector with deduplication, and moving up the line, the Virtual StoreOnce Appliance, which supports up to 10 terabytes of usable capacity, and then up the ladder, moving towards work group moving towards departmental and then enterprise type of data center support. Many customers at the 6500 level are dealing with anywhere from 25 to hundreds of terabytes that they're backing up, and this gives them the power and the performance that they need. Okay, so just a couple comments on the 6500, and the reason why I bring this one up is because this is unique in the marketplace. This is our multi-node system. It can start as small as 88 terabytes in user capacity, but it is a multi-node system. So the most basic configuration would be 2 nodes, and this system allows you to not only support the performance that you need, but also provides what's called autonomic restart, failover. So if a hardware failure occurs, backups that were going to that particular node are able to fail over to a secondary node, so backups can continue. As the repair is completed, you fail it back, and life is good again. So it's the only system of its kind in the marketplace. Some of our notable customers who have these are UPS, who supports replication of over 2,000 different sites, Warner Brothers, DreamWorks, seems many of these customers, Wells Fargo, who have this type of system that can start out small and then scale accordingly. Okay. A few more details on the StoreOnce VSA. This is our software-defined storage appliance. Essentially, as I had mentioned earlier, it is the modular StoreOnce engine that we've put in a virtual machine. Today, it's supported by VMware, and within the next week, it will be supported by Hyper-V. Essentially, what you do is you take this VM, you install it on the ESX host, and utilizing whatever storage you define, it will go ahead and present to VMware a backup appliance as if it was a physical appliance. The system is ideal for smaller remote offices or small businesses who are running some level of VMware or virtualization, or we found a very, very good use case in terms of customers who want to do replication. Deploying a very affordable virtual machine out at a remote office that can be deployed remotely, do not have to install it locally. It gives the customers the ability to have very, very fast local backups, but also very, very fast local restores. Oh, and by the way, if I wanted to copy and replicate a backup copy to another site, I can do so with another VSA system or a physical hardware appliance. Very, very useful case. Today it supports, we have 2 flavors of it, supports up to 4 terabytes of usable capacity and 10 terabytes of usable capacity. One thing to note though, that 10 terabytes of usable capacity can actually store up to 100 terabytes of backups if you're getting a 10-to-1 deduplication ratio. So it's very, very efficient. The key thing is, just keep in mind, if keeping many, many backups, the effective capacity would be up to 100 terabytes if you're getting 10-to-1. Okay. Okay, let's talk about briefly StoreOnce in virtual environments. So we're starting to see a lot of folks, and this is probably true with many of your type of operations, is that virtual machines and virtual server backup is starting to become a little bit more challenging. One of the more powerful systems out there when it comes from a backup software perspective that a lot of folks are leaning towards is a product called Veeam, right? It's a backup software designed specifically for virtual environments. Very, very robust type of use case, very affordable, gives you things like instant recovery of virtual machines with the StoreOnce type of solution. So it is a certified solution. StoreOnce appliances would be used as the target media, and the Veeam software would be used as the backup software which would identify what servers need to be backed up, what data needs to be backed up, and it would send the backup data to a StoreOnce appliance, whether that be a physical appliance or whether that be the HP StoreOnce VSA virtual StoreOnce appliance. Okay. Some of the things that the combined solution provides is, of course, I mentioned instant recovery of VMs, fast level recovery of SharePoint as well as Exchange, fast recovery of OS files, It does have some granular deduplication capabilities in working with conjunction with StoreOnce. So they work hand in hand to reduce the amount of data that needs to be stored. The great thing about it is when it comes to restoring that data, the undeduplication process is very, very fast. Veeam complements StoreOnce by minimizing the data size and increasing the performance of your backups and your restores. There's also some things that that Veeam has in terms of interaction and capabilities in snapshot management when it comes to primary storage. So with the HP 3PAR and Store Virtual type of arrays. So there's a lot of integration, a lot of partnering when it comes to this certified solution to add a lot of value and efficiency to how customers are backing up virtual environments. Okay. Also, in terms of Veeam, just to give you a kind of an understanding of the significance of the StoreOnce deduplication on the appliance. If you just turn deduplication on with Veeam, here's an example, right? You're looking at source data of 540 gigabytes. Okay, if you're only using Veeam itself, right, then you're looking at the amount of data transferred. The final size on the target, if you're just using standard disk, would be about 223 gigabytes of space utilization. Using the HP StoreOnce and Veeam solution together, HP StoreOnce from the hardware appliance or the VSA side, and then Veeam is the backup software, you see the significant file savings when it comes to putting data on disk. So there's significant savings in that regard. Now that's when saving data on disk. One of the things that's very, very important as well when it comes to deduplication appliances is that you have the ability to replicate a backup copy to a secondary site using the appliances. Okay. The great thing about it is that it will replicate a full copy, so you at this point you have the ability, if you want, to eliminate tape completely out of the out of the process, and it would give you a secondary copy, secondary offline copy at a remote site sitting on disk available to do a restore. Now the thing is, when you're replicating data, makes deduplication makes that possible, is that it allows low bandwidth connectivity and replicate the backup copy, only sending the block level changes. This makes it very, very efficient. Well, if you're doing deduplication and you're sending block level changes of 223 gigabytes compared to 52 gigabytes, you got to understand that the bandwidth utilization is significantly lower when you're using a StoreOnce appliance as opposed to just using the Veeam deduplication alone by itself. And we all know that bandwidth and the cost of the pipe many times can be significantly higher than even the cost of hardware, because the cost of bandwidth is very expensive. Okay, so this is where a replication copy, where customers can use best practices in having a single copy at a primary site and then a replicated copy for disaster recovery as a secondary site, and be able to have that copy and meet all that the data protection criteria and policies that most customers have for compliance. Okay, so from a software perspective that HP offering, alternative to Veeam is HP has its own backup software called HP Data Protector. From the perspective of backup software, HP Data Protector is really ideal when you have a mixed physical and virtual environment, right? Because HP Data Protector can address a lot of the physical hardware when it comes to backing up physical servers. Veeam is actually only in a virtual environment. Data Protector allows you to have not only physical as well as virtual server backup. So it's going to be able to go through the traditional method of backup and for online backup agents, as well as support virtual environments as well. It's more of a kind of a hybrid for mixing physical and virtual. It gives you all the capabilities for integrating with VADP, with Microsoft Hyper-V, and then give you granular recovery, message level restores, what traditional backup softwares will provide. Okay. Further on HP Data Protector, very, very affordable. Essentially, the way that it's configured is with HP Data Protector, you can get a what's called a starter pack, which supports a single tape drive, tape library, and unlimited clients and unlimited media servers. And then depending upon the applications that the customer needs to support, then you would add on Exchange, hot Exchange support, or Oracle support, or SQL extensions in order to support those, those types of applications. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about Catalyst and what that brings to the table when supporting backup for customers when it comes to virtual environments, when it comes to physical environments, when it comes to speeding up the process of backup and data protection and making it easier to manage and much more efficient. So what is Catalyst? Okay, so essentially the way that folks are backing up in both tape environments as well as disk is they typically, for a tape environment, they set up what's called a tape library. And the tape library, backup software goes ahead and takes the data and writes it to a physical tape library. When disk came into play, backup software then supported what are called shares, NAS shares, the CIFS or NFS. So basically the backup data would land in these folders on disk, and it's able to restore from that. Or what they were able to do is create what's called a virtual tape library, making the disk look like a tape library, and data was go ahead and still written to disk, but it thought that it was writing to a tape library, and all is good. So what HP did was we said, you know what, that technology works, but there's some limitations to it. Most notably file sizes, performance. There's a lot of overhead involved with those types of protocols, CIFS, NFS, and VTL via Fiber Channel, or VTL via iSCSI. So what HP thought was, hey, you know what, let's come up with an alternative protocol that will be backup-centric, that will be much more efficient when it comes to moving data around the network, utilizing bandwidth, as well as providing the best performance possible. Okay. So what we're able to do is HP Labs developed what's called this Catalyst. Just think of it as a new protocol, and it works today with HP Data Protector, Semantic Net Backup, Backup Exec, and will shortly be supported by Veeam. Essentially what it provides is this new protocol where we minimize the stack, and we just load that packet with backup data and backup metadata. And by doing that, we increase the performance by 2, 3, 4-fold. Okay. The second benefit that it provides is it gives the backup software the ability to manage all the different copies wherever they may reside in the entire enterprise. So if you go ahead and you do replication copies at 2, 3, 4, 5 different sites, the backup software is fully aware of them. It knows what the policies are involved with each copy, and it knows where they all reside and have the ability to not only restore from them, but also to make tape-out copies wherever in the world that those copies reside. And it gives just a lot more manageability and freedom to the user by minimizing management. Okay. So we'll talk a little bit more in detail about Catalyst and now what's the benefit that's going to provide you when you're doing backups. Now keep in mind, Catalyst is an option. So you can go ahead and continue to use the same protocols that you have in the past, Fiber Channel, iSCSI via Ethernet, NAS via Ethernet, whether it be CIFS or NFS, and you can also deploy Catalyst as a supplement or as an alternative. So they can all coexist nice and fine in the same type of environment on this appliance. So the first thing that you can do when it comes to backing up with StoreOnce appliances, of course, without Catalyst, is just have the deduplication occur on the target device. So all the backups occur, the backup software reads the data from all the servers, whether it be virtual or physical, sends them across the network. When they get to the target device, the deduplication occurs on the appliance, and data is stored. And basically all redundant data is eliminated, and we have essentially a roadmap to recreate the data to whatever the way it looked, felt, and acted at that date and time when the backup occurred. Okay? Keep in mind, all deduplication is occurring on this physical appliance. Okay? What Catalyst allows us to do is now put a deduplication agent elsewhere in the network. So on a media server or on a backup server, we can just put this little bit of code on that media server, and now backups that are passing through that media server or that backup server can now be deduplicated closer to where the origin of that data was created. Okay, so the way that you can think of it is, if you can go ahead and as the data is being transmitted in full size at a terabyte, as an example, when it gets to the media server, it reduces the amount of that data from a terabyte to typically 1 to 2% of that size. Okay, so maybe 10 to 20 gigs. Okay, and then from there, that data is sent to the target, which is going to be the dedupe appliance. Okay, so that's how Catalyst now is. You can start to understand, wow, this really can reduce the bandwidth utilization, reduce the amount of data that's being transferred on my network. Wow, I like the sound of that, right? Catalyst takes it a step further. We can even, based on the environment and based on whatever backup software you're using, if you're using HP Data Protector, you can actually install a dedupe agent on the application source or application server that you want. Now this gives you the ability to have deduplication occur wherever that data is created, and now only send block level changes across the network in its minimal size. So instead of you sending a 1 terabyte backup all the way across the network, you're sending 1% of that size. You can understand now the huge benefit in terms of that, in terms of not only the amount of capacity you're using, but amount of bandwidth you're using on that network. Okay? A little bit more graphic to allow you to get an understanding of how this can work. So, using just a backup appliance only, with deduplication occurring on the target, right? No major changes to the environment. All you're really doing is moving your tape library or tape drive out of the way, putting the StoreOnce appliance in its place, and that's what we see here at the DDD on the right. As data comes from the clients, goes through the media servers, it's all going in its regular size once it hits the target, and that's where the deduplication occurs. Okay? When a restore is initiated from the backup server, the data on this appliance is then reconstituted or undeduplicated, as we say, according to the directions of the backup software and the roadmap that was created, provides that backup data back to wherever it needs to be restored to. Okay? Very, very simple, very, very fast, very straightforward. But all the data being transferred across the network is in full size. Okay? Now we take it a step further utilizing Catalyst. Okay? What we're able to do here is we installed that deduplication Catalyst agent on a couple of media servers. So now as data comes through, it comes in its regular size across the network. Once it hits the media server, that data is deduplicated. It is reduced in size, and it communicates with the target and it says, hey, you know what? I've got this data that's come to me. Have I already stored that block on disk? If I have, I'm not going to send it again because it's going to be redundant. You don't need to store it. If it's new, if it's unique block, I'm going to go ahead and send it. So these deduplication domains are constantly communicating through metadata and making sure that it's sending only new or unique data that needs to be stored. Okay, going through these media servers, right? The data is in its regular size. So if it's 100 gigs coming from the client, it's going to be going 100 gigs through the media server. It's going to go across the network, and once it gets to the target appliance, that's when it's going to get deduplicated. So from this perspective, you can see where you can pick and choose where it makes sense to have the deduplication occur. Very simple, very easy to deploy, very easy to manage. Now taking it the furthest step, one more step, and put it on the source, you see here where we're able to now install that deduplication agent on the application server. Okay, before I go on, I just want to make sure that I still got connectivity and you guys are online. Gary, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry about that.
Okay, great. Yeah, with all my talking, if I lost connectivity, I would hate to be continuing and nobody's on. So my apologies. So okay, so getting back to the source side deduplication, you see here where we're able to be selective and we can install a deduplication agent, right, on the application server itself. Deduplication can occur here as the data is being sent across the network in its minimal size. Okay. Now this is where it allows the customer to be prudent of where and when they want to deploy deduplication. Because as an example, if this is a client, right, this server is a web server that's doing financial transactions, right, and every minute of the day is going to be valued in how many transactions I can process, right, and how that CPU's efficiency, and that dedicated server is designed only to do transactions. Installing the dedupe agent on it will take up CPU cycles, so it's going to take some load off of that CPU. Okay, so installing it on that type of server may not be the right thing to do because you're going to be taking CPU cycles, you're going to be taking some power off of that CPU, so it'll reduce the amount of transactions they can do. So installing a dedupe agent in that may not be the best way to go. However, installing a dedupe agent on a file and print server that has a lot of data that you're backing up every day or have a cycle and it's sending a lot of data, that is a perfect use case to install that dedupe agent because it's not affecting a critical business application, but it's still important to back up. So I can go ahead and install that dedupe agent on that, deduplication occur, and I'm only sending the block level changes. Whereas this web server that's doing financial transactions, you know, I don't want to install that agent on there. However, I can still have deduplication occur right next to it because I can install that dedupe agent on the media server that's sitting right next to it. So I can at least have the majority of the distance that I'm sending that data be low bandwidth with deduplication, and I can still take advantage of it. So there's a number of ways that you can deploy it to make it efficient based on whatever type of data you have and whatever your type of backup architecture is. Okay. Keep in mind it still can coexist with your standard backups. You can merge different environments. So maybe you've got a fiber channel environment for all your block-based data, maybe all your databases, and maybe you've got some NAS for your file services, your file shares, right? All done on a NAS, so all done over the network. This type of technology can be used in either or and can coexist all using the same centralized storage. It's a single pool of storage and very, very easy to manage and very, very reliable. So looking at StoreOnce from the different use cases. Here you see on the upper right, you see where it says primary data center. This type of use case where a customer has, we'll say, over 50 terabytes. They're backing up. They've got some SLAs that need to be met. The majority of their servers and their data is located at this primary data center. They chose to go ahead and install a multi-node StoreOnce 6200 or 6500 backup system, and they accommodate their backups locally. Okay. For disaster recovery, they want a secondary copy of all their backups. They deployed a second system at a DR site. Okay. Through deduplication, it replicates just the block level changes. It keeps these in synchronization every week or every day if they want, and they can also spin off a copy to tape if they want a long-term archive of those backups. So maybe just once a month they spin off a copy to tape, put it in Iron Mountain or some safe fireproof location, and they have an archive available. And maybe they only keep 6 months, a year, 3 months, whatever, on spinning disk through deduplication. Okay? So these are the large type of deployments, those type of use cases. At the smaller sizes, for SMB, for mid-sized customers, for departmental type of requirements, here we have single node StoreOnce appliances, right? Can be used in conjunction with tape. Basically point the backup server with the backups occurring to this purpose-built appliance. Very, very fast backups, very, very fast local restores are available. Oh, and by the way, if I want a disaster recovery copy, I can go ahead and do a replication across the WAN to any of these two sites, or any site if I want. Okay, so I have a primary copy here, I have a DR copy at any of these sites. Okay, going a little bit smaller, maybe it's a small remote office, right? What we can do is we can go ahead, it's a virtual environment, we can go ahead and deploy a VSA. So maybe you've got this ESX host, it's running a small environment, some application servers running on Veeam. I can go ahead and install that VSA on the ESX host, present some storage to it. Boom, I've got the equivalent of a hardware appliance running on my ESX host. Backups occur very, very fast locally. Restores occur very, very fast locally. Oh, and I can also replicate a copy anywhere that I want. To another remote site, to the primary data center, that's all included. Okay. Now, taking it, the last step is where we can install that dedupe agent. Right? Using Catalyst, maybe I've got this small office with one server that's 500 miles away from my closest other office, right? Doing a backup doing a backup over the network is improbable, right? Because there's too much data to send. But too expensive to put a VSA or even a physical appliance locally. There's no staffing there to support it. Oh, what I can do with HP is I can go ahead and just install a dedupe agent on that server. Now it looks like it's a local backup to my backup server, and after the very first backup, I'm only sending just the block level changes. So now, even though it's 500 miles away, I can treat it like a local backup. I'm only sending 1% of the backup over the WAN. That makes it feasible to back up over a wide area network, even though I'm quite a distance away. So here you see how HP can meet all these different data requirements, whether it be virtual environments, physical environments, remote offices, large enterprise data centers, using the same dedupe engine to move data around and have different copies wherever you need it. Okay. So let's look at a little bit of competitive information. Our biggest competitor out there is EMC, which they've been around for a while in terms of when their acquisition of Data Domain, who was really kind of the pioneer when it came to de-duplication. But you could see here in terms of lower cost per terabyte per hour, the real shining star with the HP solution is performance when it comes to meeting those SLAs. The great thing about the HP solution, which is different than anything else out there, is that we are able to not only have very, very fast backup, but our restores can be anywhere from 80 to 100% of our ingest. And that's significantly different than anyone else out there. Reason being is we've done some very unique techniques in terms of where we put data on disk, how we handle locality, how we break these blocks of data up, and then how we're able to reassemble them very, very fast with having limited impact on the performance of the system. So you can see here with our fastest systems, we're 4 times faster than our competitors' fastest box. Okay. All right. So in summary, before we get to any questions, the key things about the StoreOnce technology you see here is federated deduplication, right? What we mean by that is same deduplication technology, right? That StoreOnce technology deployed in physical hardware through a physical appliance, deployed through software in HP Data Protector backup software, and also deployed in software-defined storage using anyone's hardware and anyone's software, right? And maybe you want to repurpose some old servers or storage that you want, and you could utilize the StoreOnce technology in that manner. 4 times faster than our closest competitors in backup and restore. Very, very flexible, accommodates whatever type of connectivity that you want, whether that be fiber channel VTL, whether it be fiber channel or iSCSI VTL, whether that be CIFS over Ethernet, NFS over Ethernet, whether that be fiber channel over Ethernet in the future. HP will accommodate that type of connectivity. Or, as we talked about, Catalyst, and some of you might be using Semantic OST. So this technology is fully compatible with it. StoreOnce gives you the ability to dedupe anywhere. So as we talked about with those dedupe agents and the and the appliances, you can decide where you want the deduplication to occur, whether it be at the origin of where the data is created, at the media server, at the intermediary location, or at the target itself, whatever makes sense. HP StoreOnce is the only system out there with high availability and failover to meet those very stringent SLAs if you need them. The 6500 supports that. And then very simple web-based browser management and reporting from a single pane of glass to manage up to 400 different locations and in a multitude of different StoreOnce products, whether that be software, software-defined, or physical hardware. Okay. So at that, can we field some questions? Anyone have any questions regarding kind of what we displayed and what we presented?
Yeah, again, please use your chat window if you have any questions. At the moment, we do not have any. So not seeing any questions come in, I just want to thank you, Lou, for a great presentation. And thank you, everyone else, for joining us today. And again, we encourage you to contact your account team if you'd like to discuss your company's specific backup challenges and see how we can help design a solution to address those challenges. Thank you, and have a great day. All right, bye-bye.
Great. Thank you, everyone.